Okay. Are we there? So I want to call this meeting of the Hayward Local Agencies Committee to order. Shall we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's see, and then let's have introductions. I'm Barbara Halliday. I'm the mayor of Hayward. Sorry for the technical difficulties that prevented me from being there here more timely, but anyway, and I'll pass it on to Rick Hatcher.
I am the Vice President of the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District, and I'll pass it over to Councilmember Lemon.
Thank you. Councilmember Sarah Lamnin, happy to be here this evening, and I'll pass over to Peter Buffette.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Buffette, Vice President of the Board of Education for Hayward Unified. I'll pass it over to April.
Hi, everyone. I'm April Okenda, President of the Hayward Unified School Board, and I'll go to Councilmember Andrews.
Hello, I'm Angela Andrews, Councilmember Angela Andrews, and I'll pass it over to Carol Pereira.
Good afternoon, Carol Pereira, President of the Board of Directors, Hayward Area Recreation and Park District. And who else is here?
James and Nicole are the two people I have on the screen that haven't.
Okay. Nicole.
Yeah. Oh,
I am Nicole Espinoza Roa, Acting Assistant to the GM and PIO.
okay.
I'm James Wheeler. I'm the General Manager for the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District, and I would turn over to Regina. No.
Regina Youngblood, I don't see her camera on, but
Oh, sorry.
there she-
Yeah, and
there
then
she
it's,
is.
I know
And
both Regina and I are in transit. We will be on camera shortly, so apologize, Kelly McAdoo, City Manager, and then Regina. So that camera will be on in momentarily. Apologize.
Yes, Regina Youngblood, Assistant City Manager, City of Hayward.
Okay, and I think that's it. Is there anybody, let's see, who do we see? Amber Paris on the line. Do you want to introduce yourself, Amber, or there she is.
Oh, sorry.
she's there. And there.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, I am Amber Pottis. I work in the city clerk's office as a senior secretary.
And I see we have Rosalinda.
I'm Rosalinda Romero. I'm the executive assistant to the city manager, and I will be assisting running the meeting today. So good to
All
see
right, and we can't do without you guys. So, okay, thank you. All right, so that brings us to probably what is our major topic today, and that is, although I will say, I think I heard somebody saying that I did talk to our superintendent, Matt Wayne, a little while ago, and he should be joining us shortly. And I don't know, I think probably everyone has heard the announcement that came out today. April, would you like to, in case anyone hasn't, who is on this call here?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Halliday. Our superintendent, Dr. Matt Wayne, was the sole candidate and then selection left in the search for a superintendent for San Francisco Unified. It's a very big accomplishment that Dr. Wayne has received that position. The board should be voting on his approval in the coming weeks. And Dr. Wayne will be with us in Hayward until July 1st. And the board will be giving information shortly about the process that we'll be undergoing, and of course, keeping our community in the loop as we go through that. Certainly a loss for Hayward. Dr. Wayne has been a great leader, and we're sad to see him go, but we will make sure that we're doing our best to bring in just as strong of a replacement. So Peter, did you want to add on anything to that?
I think just emphasizing that, we're really dedicated to making sure that we have, most stability in the district, and committed to making sure we fill those big shoes. So.
I'm sure you'll do your best, and it's a big, big announcement, big change in Hayward. And I'm glad we'll have a chance to actually extend all of our appreciation to him when he joined, later in the meeting here. But okay, so then we have come to the item which is listed on the agenda as regarding Hayward Community Town Hall on supporting and keeping safe Hayward and children, youth. And that is a big and very serious topic. So I think who is going to start us off? Ms. McAdoo, our city manager, Kelly McAdoo. Is that correct?
Yes, I will. Thanks. And I think Rosalind is going to assist me by sharing the PowerPoint slides that were in the packet. As those of you recall, great, there we go, perfect. We held a joint agency town hall on April 21st of 2022. And this followed a number of incidents in our community where the safety of children and our youth was challenged for a number of different reasons. And so we wanted to hold a town hall, hear public comment from the community about suggestions for keeping our youth safe in Hayward, and also supporting their effective development and growth. And so we had that town hall, and there were some themes that came out of it, and we wanted to share those themes with the local agencies committee this afternoon. So next slide, please. So a couple of the themes that came up were, back one, sorry, Rosalinda. Thanks. The first was that a desire to really increase activities for youth outside of school, after school, and during summer. A concern that many of the HARD and HUSD programs are at capacity and often have wait lists for after school programs, summer camps, and swim lessons. There's really a need for more affordable programs for youth. Sometimes the cost to participate can be prohibited. There was a desire to look into training and support for dealing with trauma, and to provide this training for agency staff and community members, and then to really work on improving communication amongst agencies. Next slide. Some other themes was to recognize the good work of our community partners, and then to determine how the three of our agencies can work with existing as well as new partners to address issues of child and youth safety. And then working to develop a system to ensure good communication between elementary schools and middle schools to better assist in the transition of students with need. And then thinking about how do we develop a method to ensure that youth voices are heard in all elements of our public life here in Hayward. And this could include you taking these meetings and conversations to places where youth gather, including at schools, libraries, parks, and with the Hayward Youth Commission. And then next slide. There we go. We kind of looked at sort of a prioritization from those themes. We looked at sort of a prioritization of those themes in terms of ability to maybe make a difference and to have an impact in the short order. And so the first is to really increase out of school time activities for youth, increasing the capacity of existing programs and services, making our youth serving programs more accessible and affordable, looking at how we can provide training and support for dealing with trauma for staff in the community, thinking about how we improve communication amongst the agencies regarding youth safety and programs, and then recognize the good work of our partners and build on those relationships. Then we'll focus on that the transition of elementary and middle school children, and then ensuring the youth voice is heard. Next slide. So what we wanted to pose was sort of a question for the electeds who are here this afternoon for discussion, which could then help us start to brainstorm how we can move forward together to put some solutions in place and to start to address some of these themes and issues. And so I think we wanted to frame it as, what does success look like? So if we were able to successfully address these themes and issues, what would that look like and what outcomes would we achieve? Because I think that will help us sort of identify where are we trying to get? What is our ideal state, and how do we want to get there? So I think that is all of the presentation, and hopefully you have this with your packet so we can, I think, unshare the screen.
Getting, was it with the, it was a link, wasn't it?
Yes, so it should have been linked to the agenda. So hopefully folks can pull that up as we continue the discussion. And I believe there's probably a number of attendees that may want to make public comments. So Mayor, I don't know if you want to try
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead then? Are you finished with the basic presentation here?
Yeah, finish
Was
with
everybody able to access that from, let's see if that works. Yeah, I don't, not working. How were you wanting us to access that?
It should have been on the agenda. I think if you click on the title for item 2, you should be able to get to the PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's not, that's not working on my, it's not working to do that. Was everybody else able to do that? Doesn't, you know.
If not, we can email it to everyone quickly. If
I
folks
think that would be a good idea. I mean, is everybody else able to get it? I mean, were you, anybody else of the members, were you able to access it from this agenda?
Mayor, my link wasn't active either, so I just
Yeah.
second
Okay.
that.
Okay, we'll send it out quickly, and then while we start public comment. So give me 2 seconds. But Mayor, if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, why
comment.
don't we go ahead with public comment? And I don't see, we have attendees, I don't see any hands up. If you are attending, oh, there goes one. Okay. And who is assisting with that? Is it Amber? Okay. So first we, Sonia Heester.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sonia Heester, and I am a family engagement specialist with Hayward Unified School District. I work with families at Ochoa Middle School and Brinkwitz High School. I come to this committee with a request to please consider updating Hard's Longwood Park. The children and youth of the Longwood South Garden community could use a more inviting and modern facility that provides safe and healthy activities year-round. I ask that you modernize the playground and incorporate an interactive water feature to the park, similar to the one found at Hard's Castro Valley Community Park and many other parks throughout the Tri-Valley. As you drive by Longwood Park, I notice there's open space to the right of the program, to the right of the park. I am not sure who this property may belong to, but I ask that you consider expanding Longwood Park so that we can offer a wide variety of activities to the children and youth of this community. As a mother of 3 boys myself and working closely with our Hayward families, I would personally advocate for the park to offer a soccer field, a skate park, and a community center. I ask that you please consider investing in our children and youth of the Longwood South Garden community and provide them with opportunities to thrive and grow. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Mayor, you're muted.
It's gonna print off. Okay. I don't see any other hands up. And by the way, thank you, Sonia, for the comment. And I don't see any other hands up, so I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment and we can go on to questions and comments from And I was able to get a copy now of the, thank you, Kelly, of this presentation. Good. So are there any questions or comments about? Let's go to the last. Councilmember Lamnon.
So I'm happy to kick us off, but I'll also defer to Councilmember Andrews. I know you were taking a leadership role in some of these efforts, so if you wanted to start, that's fine.
Okay, Councilmember Andrews also has her hand up, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I'm extremely concerned about child welfare and figuring out how do we determine what is safe for the child. And I think what has happened in certain cases here in Hayward and across the country is that there is a focus on family reunification over child welfare and not really looking at the home life and looking at who is actually taking care of the child. And I know for a lot of families, the traditional family structure is not the structure that might be best for the child. And it depends on a variety of factors. And so just wanted to know what are some of the things that Hayward Unified does and how can City of Hayward support, how can HARD support, because really HARD has interaction with the children, City of Hayward has interaction with children for a variety of programs, but it seems like Hayward Unified is kind of the first line of defense in terms of what's going on with that child, given the requirements of having the child in the school system if they were a child in that school system. So I just wanted to know how can we, I think success for me would be for us to be coordinated in how we make sure a child is safe that is within our city, who's living in our city, whether they go to a charter school, private school, Hayward Unified School, making sure that student knows they have a resource to go to. And then we as the city support them through public safety. HARD supports them through programs that are available. But I just want to kind of understand what are the parameters, what are the metrics, what do we look at when we look at the child welfare in the home? And I don't know who can answer that, given that the superintendent isn't here, but maybe someone else.
We do have our assistant superintendent Chinwu Fernandez with us.
Okay, great.
Ms. Chu.
And to respond to that, Ms. Andrews, so there's a process in Hayward that's currently in place. I'm just going to kind of walk us through a process of a family or student that may come up as a student that may be in need. And so our first line of defense is always our wonderful staff who works with our students every day. So if we notice that a student is in crisis or even acting irregularly, right? Like they're usually pretty happy and now there's a day that they're looking like they may need some additional support, then the sites actually have what we call COST, which is a coordination of students services team that actually is their sole purpose as actually to respond to that. So anyone, whether it's a community member, a parent, a student, anyone can or a staff can trigger a referral to the COST team. And that particular team has a responsibility of handling the referral of a student that may have some additional needs and convening a group of stakeholders at the table, which includes staff and community members. And this is where we may have some room to look at how we can grow and work together a little better. And that community kind of sit down and look at what the students actually need. And then we assign a case manager to manage that student. So if we identify the student may need more after school support because they're alone and they need more interactions with peers, right? Then we open access for them in that way. Or if they need additional services like counseling, we start to access services that we have at our school sites. And if we don't have it, that's when we start to look at our partnerships in the community that would have that service available to support that child and potentially their family to link them to success. You heard from Sonia. She's our family engagement specialist, which is she's also an integral part of that team, and that they work with the families very carefully to make sure that the family also have access to referrals and services, both in the city and inside, to be able to serve that student. And so that it's more of a holistic approach of taking care of the student and also taking care of adults as part of the process. So we do have some key players in our school, and then we do rely our partnerships across the city and sometimes outside of the city to be able to fill the needs depending on what they are, whether it's basic services, counseling services, referral to care in different ways, or programming that we may have internally or externally that would benefit that child. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit in terms of just process and how people rally around a child that may be in crisis.
Okay, and then what is your relationship with Child Protective Services? I know we can't speak about specific cases, but what happens when they probably need to be referred to them and the child probably comes back into the system? What is the relationship with Child Protective Services?
So I will say we have minimal relationship in the way of actually working together as partners, right? So we have, as folks who work in the system, we're all mandated reporters. So we have annual regulated trainings around mandated reporting. So all of our staff is subject to that particular training as part of the mandates of working in schools. So and it comes with things like noticing signs of students who may be struggling and so on and so forth. So the reporting requirements pretty clear around that. And again, as the students are transitioning back to school, we do expect that the COS team and other folks who are support providers on the school site figure out a way to transition that students back nicely. They may not all know the circumstances, and that piece is confidential. But in terms of, I think what your comments were before, us working together as agencies, that is an area of growth that we should explore going forward.
Okay, and then just to confirm with either HARD or the city, our library staff, recreation staff, mandated child reporters as well? Just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, by law.
Yeah, just making sure. Okay, so I would say success would be working together with CPS to have better outcomes, and then having clear definitions of what constitutes a safe environment for a child, just so all of us have a better understanding of what that means. And then also, I was thinking about, obviously, particular cases is some of the locations that are identified to meet up with family members are in HARD, or park locations. And whether that is appropriate or not, I think something should be reviewed with HARD and reviewed with CPS as well as the police department, in determining, having those investigations or interactions with the parent and the child. Is a park really the appropriate location, or should there be a requirement that they meet at the home to confirm if that is the appropriate location? Another thing with home is, I know that some schools do home visits, charter schools, private schools, some public schools, and wanted to know if that is something that is done with Hayward Unified. Usually out of those home visits, it's either from the teacher or the principal, and they get a lot of good information about how that family structure is, whether they feel like the child is supported or what are the resources are needed for that child before they even engage in the school year. So just wanted to see if that's something that Hayward Unified does plan on doing, something they would consider.
I can respond to that. So we have some capacity to do home visits, and some of that is done by our child welfare attendants staff that actually works at the district level. So we do have some site interventions that are being done, and when the issue persists, we allocate staffing at the district level to go ahead and meet with families, and that also includes home visits. So we do some of that work. That is an area that's both difficult to do, but certainly you can gather a lot of information by being in a child's environment at home as well.
Exactly. So I would say success would be to go to every child's home. And I know it sounds very daunting, but I feel like it could probably help with some achievement outcomes, but also it's something that should be considered, and maybe it's something that could be done in the support with the other agencies, if they're trained appropriately, to help out. Like, for example, when we had to do inspections and for certain things from an agency's perspective, they might be tapped. So they would reach out to the school districts to see if they can work with people on site to understand what to look for. I think that's something that would probably help with some of the issues that we might be seeing with child safety. So it's just something to consider, and maybe working with the city manager and the GM to see if that's something that could be considered. So I think that would be success. And then on another topic for success, this kind of relates to hard, and then the questions about or the comments about classes and wait lists for programs, looking at maybe the enrollment data and the wait list data from the previous year, and success would be having the more capacity to accommodate that wait list the following year. And I don't know if you already do that. I know funds are limited, so just wanted to see if that's also a possibility to help with some of the availability of classes. I know that I've looked at classes and they're full, especially the swim classes that was mentioned before, and also looking at other activities that will engage more youth from the ages of 11 to 17. I know there's some liability issues with certain programs, but looking at what other cities are doing to engage that target demographic of keeping them out of trouble before it starts. So I just wanted to know if that's something that you all have done, looked at enrollment data to see if.
We look at waitlist data every quarter to try to see where we can expand. Unfortunately, programs like swimming, we only have so much square footage of water space and demand from so many groups: seniors for water exercise, lap swimmers, swim teams, learn to swim. So it's really a balancing act continually. The only year-round pool we have is the plunge. And I think if you drive by Memorial Park on any given Saturday or evening or after school, you'll see the parking lot's pretty full from that. We're looking at that as we plan and look at our bond projects and where to allocate that funding. We look at programs that are full, programs that are high demand. Pickleball, we're looking at doing 34 courts and how many do we convert. So we do listen to what we do, and we do use the waitlist data. Unfortunately, sometimes between staffing and the expertise people have to do those programs and the available facility space, we have like 2 gymnasiums that we really have access to, 3, including one in Castro Valley. But so it's more for us, it's about the size of the facilities, and pools and gyms are on our capital project radar. So hoping to expand those, but a lot of it is just facility based, and some of it is funding based. I think we're due agency updates in a bit. We've worked with Travasio Vasquez and some other and the county to get some funding for programming. We're doing free swimming lessons all summer between our foundation HARD and that money. Expanded programs, fitness and parks, we'll tell you about more. We're trying to really use some of our COVID relief money. We have about another 300,000 or 400,000 set aside. Moving into outdoor programming, we have mountain bikes, kayaks, things to take that age group you're talking about. Now we're buying vans and trailers to be able to move them. So it's on our radar, and we're trying to go as fast as we can. I think we're on a pretty good path, and then we kind of got sidetracked the last year and a half or so. But I think you'll see, if you look at our annual report and look at where our funding's going in our next year's budget, you'll be quite surprised by our commitment to providing those programs for youth.
Great. Well, I appreciate you acknowledging that you do that. And then just some ideas that I had for you to consider is to think about programs, outdoor programs at night, just to kind of prevent nefarious activities at night. So whether it's like Mia's Dream After Dark, and it's from ages, 15 to 18, something like that, 14 to 18, where they can kind of enjoy just being in that space and having teens in that space, and it's monitored and it's safe. And then I also like that I've seen on your website and Instagram is you have mobile parks, pretty much.
Mobile rec now.
The
yes.
mobile rec. I'd love to see more of that. Maybe we can add some outdoor skating that's really hot right now. So just really doing things that are attracting that demographic. So just want to acknowledge your efforts already, and just kind of continuing that path of thinking outside the box. And then also maybe even consider working with different locations that do have those amenities. So for example, if you need more pools, maybe you can coordinate with, HOAs or, swim clubs to see if we can start using their facilities more to offer those classes if we are running out of space at the plunge or something like that. So just some of those ideas I had. So thank you. I could talk about this stuff all day long. So I'll pass it on to Councilmember Lamner or whoever's going to.
Yeah, let's go to Councilmember Lamnon, since she's next with her hand up. But yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I feel like there's so much to talk about here, but I will do my best to contain my enthusiasm. So I really appreciate the community town hall, as well as the capturing of the ideas. I think success looks like a few things to me in focused on a few of the topic areas. So number one, success is really a smooth system. We have so many different people and entities that may be interacting in a child's life, especially if there's an issue. And I don't know that the coordination between the various groups is really to the level that is best for the child. And I say that without rancor or blame. It happens that way. But I think we have a real opportunity, as you said, Ms. Fernandez, to do that differently. I know when I worked on the nonprofit side of the world, we always wanted to be invited into the meeting. We were working with grandparents, raising grandchildren, nieces, nephews, etc. And we were ready and willing to be partners in those families, but didn't necessarily know when those meetings were being held or whatever. And so the opportunity for anybody whoever it is that may have sort of first or primary contact with the child, whether that be HUSD, whether that be Youth and Family Services Bureau, whether that be an after-school program, a sports program that has raised that red flag, that there really be one team that is meeting. And I would also suggest that 211 be in that room to the extent that we could do that, because I know one of the things that may help, maybe I'm wrong about this, is this idea of, okay, well, this child is being raised by relatives, so have we called kinship care? They're eligible for this program. Have they been contacted? And it's a lot for any one case manager to have that whole Rolodex in their head, but that's 211's job, to be that Rolodex. And so I wonder how we can be both responsive when the red flags come up, but also proactive if, as you said, Chin, that something comes up, something triggers an issue. And that we are, obviously culturally responsive and culturally competent and strength-based as we're responding to the families. What success looks like for one family may be different for another. So there's not always objective standards about what's safe and healthy, but I think to the extent that there are some existing, to Councilmember Andrews' point, that we have those conversations. And the last point I'll add to that is that we also think beyond, hello, Superintendent, that we think beyond also kind of our traditional pathways. We know to think about attend school, maybe a teacher, but do we think about code enforcement? If code enforcement has been called, are we looking at, is there a place to study in the room? Or other interactions that may not trigger. And when, CPS gets called, does anybody respond? Does the person who called ever hear back about that? I know that's not these three agencies, but to the extent we can pull in the county as a real partner in this process, I think would be obviously perhaps a future conversation. Maybe we invite them to a future HLAC meeting. And then a second success, and I apologize that I'm not asking a lot of questions. There were a lot of us. And so if I'm off base, I absolutely want to hear from folks, but I'm going to throw these out as ideas and then in the interest of time, but happy to be corrected or have additional information as it makes sense. The second success that I'm thinking about is awareness. To your point, Mr. Wheeler, about the things that HARD is doing. I don't, the idea that there's not things for youth to do in the city, is as old as the city itself, I have no doubt. Been active for a couple decades, and I always hear that issue. And I'm not saying that there's not enough. I mean, the wait list issue that was raised, that's valid. And I appreciate that there's data-driven work around that. But so part of it is just communication and awareness, and then part of it is that data-driven piece. So I'm really excited. I'd love to see a future conversation in this group about community schools. To Councilmember Andrews' point about expanding capacity for the things that you can't get to, like swim or that are impacted programs. How does community schools, as a concept, as a funding stream, how do we get that to happen? And does that answer some of those questions?
What do you mean exactly? Can you, by community schools?
Does somebody want, my understanding of community schools may not be the exact definition, so I will defer to better minds than mine in the room. Maybe Superintendent.
Well, what do you mean? Okay, go ahead.
My understanding of community schools is is that the concept is that schools are really community centers, that they're not just the classroom, that 7 to 3 time of school, but they're really spaces where communities gather. And some of the conversations that were had about Burbank School early on, that kind of concept. But my understanding, and by all means, HUSD folks, correct me if I'm wrong on this, that there is some funding available and some mandates to actually create schools as hubs.
Yeah, so, and good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for being a little late. I think it was shared
We
why.
know why.
One of the things I love about Hayward is our community schools approach. And so maybe Chin, you can talk a bit about what that means and maybe what's in the future for us as well.
Yes, so community schools actually is a framework, right? In terms of the way the communities work to support students. And it's very much putting the schools in the center of that framework in terms of how that being a place where folks would actually gather, and because we have our kids for so long, and that we would be able to serve students holistically. So the concept really is looking at how do we build a strong community that will support our students in a holistic way, both academically, social emotionally, and engage partners as part of that process, right? And so it's really recognizing that it takes the whole concept of taking a village to raise a child and putting that to fruition in terms of how you implement and how you go about educating students in the way that pulls in the community as partners and parents as partners as part of that conversation, and developing conditions of learning that we know are optimal for kids, right? So conditions where kids feel safe, included, engaged, so they can actually thrive. And there's some conditions that goes around that in terms of how we communicate together as a community and how we approach problems and develop resources for students as a community. But it's really taking on this approach of looking at the, in this case, a city as a whole, and how we support our students in a way that best meets them where they are to get the success, so that they can be successful. So overall, it's a framework, but it's been implemented in different ways in different places. Usually it looks like, the schools are well equipped and well staffed in the way that allows folks to be able to serve students in the way that's most comprehensive. There are several funding sources that's coming down from the state as well as federal. The federal monies have not been yet released, but the state has released some funds around the development of community schools as kind of a strategy kind of across the nation of how we can start to support our students holistically. And so Hayward did apply as part of the opportunities that came up as related to state funding. So we're optimistic, and we are on the cusp of getting some potentially good news around that, so that we can have additional resources to support our students in the way that would bring us even a step further, because we've been doing community schools for a while in Hayward now, as Sarah knows. And so this would just bring us to a better and a more improved place of being able to have more resources to do the work that we already started a while ago.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I think with that is the question of truancy. When a student isn't in school, really, how do we as the 3 agencies really respond to that in a more comprehensive way? That's kind of back to the smooth system success note. And the other piece on the awareness success note is also financial aid access. If we know a student is on free and reduced lunch, does that automatically enable them to access scholarship dollars? Does it become smooth and easy? Does their library card get them a free swim lesson at least once a year? Because that's a public safety issue. I don't know, but I think there's some ways that we can look at that. And then lastly, as a success point, I think about youth leadership. And I appreciate, Councilmember Andrews, your point about after dark. And I think about the areas that we in the city get a lot of complaints about. There are a few parks. Sorensdale is one of those parks that has fireworks going on or a lot of donuts. And if there was something going on there that perhaps was co-led by youth leaders in our community, perhaps that would change the culture of that community. There's apparently a pack of, I call it a pack, it's not appropriate. Anyway, there's a group of youth on bicycles that are riding around Cherryland Elementary. I've seen them in a couple different parts of the community, and I've heard people complain about them, and they just are reckless riding into traffic and so on. And I wonder, are there things that our youth leaders can give insight about how to engage with folks and, you know, have them do exhibitions at the skateboard park or the pump track instead of, you know, through traffic in Castro Valley and Cherryland. So I'll leave it there for now, but really appreciate this conversation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hatcher.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks staff for putting together the PowerPoint and really kind of summarizing what was said at the prior meeting. And I just wanted to go back to that. I know the meeting was called relatively quickly, and I just would like to you know, potentially kind of have a round two with this opportunity to reach out to the community. I don't recall hearing much of the youth voice, so I'd like that to be an invitation to the Hayward Youth Commission to be a part of this, as well as any other potentially youth groups, parent-teacher groups, to really get a more robust conversation going from the community. So I applaud the efforts. I just would like to dive a little deeper in looking at a round two of this. And my history lesson in 1944, the Hayward Area Recreation District, we weren't even parked yet. And we were created by the community as a special district because of this exact issue. And as Councilmember Lamb said, it evolves, it doesn't go away. We improve on it, but we have to be mindful of you know, really what that responsibility is in the evolving recreational needs. You know, I will talk recreation side. I mean, I think Councilmember Andrews and wonderful topics of the challenges of the home situation. And, you know, I look at recreation for the family members with those kids and you know, and having a kind of family program together to be able to not just to put a kid in a program, but to have a family recreational opportunity. So the themes that were identified through the PowerPoint, you know, working as agency partners, I think that it's in itself, it's the most important unit of this. You know, we are the park district for not only the city of Hayward, but the entire unincorporated area also. And I envision better partnerships which are mutually beneficial, where you know, as if we were a park district, you know, with the county or the park district of the city, you know, we would be at every meeting in regards to all these issues. So I think our staff's working better together to be at the table, making sure that, you know, HUD is at the table with many of the issues. You know, the city and the county got COVID money, and, you know, we did not get COVID money. And you know, we were very lucky with skill to get $1 million our general manager got, and we're putting almost all of that into programming scholarships for the community. And so I think the sharing of resources and funding with the agencies, and as I say, it's not a fault of the county or the city, but it's continuing to keep us at the table in these funding opportunities. Obviously COVID money came in as a one-time funding opportunity, you know, for the ills of that terrible pandemic that's among us still. But I think this is a good starting point. You know, again, being at the table, I get a lot of comments from the community about SkyWest, about, you know, how HUD's involved in that. And I don't feel we are, and I'd like that to kind of continue to be just a topic of us continuing to be at the table as an incredible partner to do what we do. The second part of this, increasing activities in the area. As I mentioned, we were created for after school, weekends, for times when the schools were closed. And to me, I grew up as my schools were my parks. They were open, maybe not the best thing 24 hours, but they were open as the place to go in the community. We take Hayward, we take Tennyson, we do Mount Eden, and we do these incredible projects that make them just these wonderful pieces, and then we lock them down. Agency programming these sites after school, weekends, and summertime it has to happen. We need these to be open to the community, and we can do that. We can program it with our staffs, even within community efforts too. The more affordable programming, I think will always be a very top priority of ours. We're in the subsidizing business, and we'd like cost recovery with our programs. But as I mentioned, most of our COVID money is going to scholarships to help funding for youth that are unable to pay for different programs. We've just come out with the Health Equity Initiative in partnerships with the Alameda County Health, as well as Tiburcio Vasquez, offering a variety of programming. And as our general manager, Jim mentioned, we're highly engaged with really not only the JEDI kind of concept, but the kind of on the ground, what does that mean? And really, splashing that out in more detail. When you develop systems of communication, is a rather broad theme there, but I always like that. Again, it's all of us, being at the table, continuing to, and I'd like to look at this topic similar to our earthquake or emergency preparedness issues that we deal with HLAC, to be a regular topic that kind of is a consistent within this organization. I think this is a beautiful opportunity for us to, work with our staffs and educate our staffs and kind of come back to be able to, do this again. So I like this topic continued. See, the hearing the youth voices. I think that, we always rely upon the Hayward Youth Commission as a sounding board. We have plans to bring them involved with HUD, much more detailed. I think the idea of the 11 to 17-year-olds is an incredible opportunity. Where I look at a deficit, I look at it as an opportunity to learn. I do like those bike groups riding around. I know it might not be the safest thing, but it's kids on bikes, which is a wonderful thing to see in our community. And continuing to, when I talked to East Bay Regional, they were kind of giving tickets to the mountain bikers, and then they all of a sudden brought the mountain bikers in to talk to them what the needs are. So it's bringing these groups, and asking them questions and trying to engage them at the point of contact. And then funding of all these wonderful opportunities. A swim complex is very dear to my heart because we've lost a lot of pools over the years. And in the 60s, we built all the pools at the schools. And so really, a swim complex in our community of a large scale is a goal of mine. Maybe folks aren't banging our doors down for swim complexes, but it takes, again, the family unit from tot to senior, and it's a family event. And I think that's something we can do as a joint agency. Again, staff, thanks for listening, and thanks for bringing these topics in front of us again.
Thank you. Mr. Buffetti.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of speak more about, I guess, this discussion with, community schools and kind of the overlapping of our resources here. And, one of the quotes that was said was, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes the village to support and uplift our families here. I think what we've seen a lot is some of the issues that we've seen, let's say literacy, they tend to be multi-generational, and it's ways where we can kind of address these issues by working with the entire family and working with all members of that family. We need to ask ourselves how we can really better package our resources to better serve our children and their respective families. And I think when Director Hatcher mentioned more town halls, I love that idea. I think we gathered a lot of great anecdotal data, and just really the voice of the community was uplifted and enhanced. And I guess one suggestion I would like to do is maybe have more town halls that are community specific, so we can gather a lot more granular data, and that's a little more applicable to the respective communities, because knowing Hayward, we have a very diverse population and very diverse communities here. So when we try to set policies for the entire community, they might not be as applicable for one part of Hayward as it is for another. So I think really approaching it in that sense would really behoove us. I'd like to see a lot more expansion too, and funding for services such as our library. I mean, we've seen during the peak of the pandemic, they were key and instrumental in helping Hayward Unified with, distributing Chromebooks and hotspots. So I've just seen them become really the most efficient way of distributing and sharing our resources, and maybe something where we have our school libraries equipped to be open after hours, so the community can use them for internet cafes or Wi-Fi. That's how we really help provide those resources to the community. Really looking at our developments, our facilities, and making sure that they're accessible again after hours, I think is a key part where that's where we can really take advantage of these public goods and make sure the community is getting the most of them. So I think that's really the direction and the focus we need to start having when we have these meetings.
Now, I just want to ask you, when you said, have community focused town halls, what I first thought of when you said that was neighborhoods. Are you talking about neighborhoods? Then it seemed like maybe you were talking about other kinds of communities, like say ethnic communities. So I just wanted to ask you what, maybe what you exactly meant by that.
I think neighborhoods, I think kind of just your geographic location in Hayward really dictates kind of what we experience. I think things that happen in Soho, things that happen downtown are kind of different conversations that are happening.
Okay. Anyone else want to go? I will. I've been listening and had a lot of thoughts came to my mind just on that last one. Which I, as I said, I initially thought when he said that of neighborhoods, which is he said is kind of what he means. And I think that would be, well, we have a program at the city hall to you. So we have something set up already to go out to neighborhoods. And maybe we need to make that a special topic at every time we do that of, asking people, what can we do for the kids here? But but then I also thought, is he talking about different ethnic groups that we have, many, as we know? And I have to say, I attended for a long time, not so much anymore, but a church in Hayward on B Street, the First United Methodist, which has pretty much become a Tongan community church now. In the Methodist community, I guess Methodists were big on I can't remember, on sending missionaries out. And anyway, we have this church. One of the things I really observed all the time I attended that church with this very large, it wasn't all a Tongan community, but a lot of the church members is the interaction with their kids and how they just spent all their time with their kids. Their kids were involved in everything, were with them through whatever program was going on. The kids were there, they were involved. The singing, is amazing. And they have been out. And I don't know, there was just something special there that I don't know that I see in my own community. I mean, it's kind of like the kids do that, the parents are over here doing this. And so, but it occurs to me that maybe there are differences in how people interact with kids in our community. And some of what I'm hearing, I'm really wondering how the community reacts. I mean, we know that we have people here who have reason, to not be afraid of us, I don't think, but they don't know that. And that they, the intervention part can be a little scary. So I think that's something we have to think about. But on more positive side, I just called up, I've been asked to do a proclamation recently on something called Friday Night Live, which I honestly did not know about before I was asked to do this Friday Night Live proclamation, which I think was presented to them in April. But this actually takes place at Hayward High School's alternative Friday night live participants. Can anybody comment on, because, you know, when I mean, organize things like classes and, you know, events and programs are fine, but we all know, we were all kids at one time. You want to just get together with your fellow kids. And I've seen the bikers too in garages. My concern is their safety. I also stopped a group of skateboarders one night in downtown Hayward near the movie theater. This was before COVID, when there were a lot of people out. They're like doing the skateboard tricks on the sidewalk. And I'm thinking somebody's going to get hurt here. And I actually stopped them and had a conversation, and they were receptive to the conversation. But I was thinking, you know, what is it like? We have skateboard parks, but they weren't there. I mean, Tennyson Park at night, this was after dark, might be a little, I don't know, I'm not sure. I hope that that's not going to stay that way. But in any event, I'm thinking they do kind of want to perform. They do kind of want people to watch them. And, you know, I think about, like, we have Newman Park, it's called. It's that little pocket park at, it's at what, Mission? Is it at Mission and, Mission and B. And, you know, that doesn't get used very much. It's got some, you know, benches, I think, but, you know, why couldn't we somewhere, or even somewhere in Heritage Park, I mean, put something where kids could actually, you know, be there, and people would be walking by, and they would get the notice they're looking for. So that's, you know, the bikers and then the swim club. So we have, I was very involved for a long time with the Southgate Swim Club, and there's also one in Fairway Park that are community swim clubs that you do have to pay to be a member of. But I know with Southgate, we were always struggling for funds. So I would think there is an opportunity there. I think Fairway Park one does too, to partner in some way for events. But usually when people want to be swimming, that's when those parks members are usually wanting to use the pool too. But during the daytime in the summer and I mean, I think there might be a partnership there. I know, actually, I think the plunge, no, Chabot College used it for a while for their swim team when they were rebuilding their own pool. And there's another pool, those pools at the two colleges. So, you know, we should look for opportunities there. You know, I'll just, you know, obviously we have, you know, the cost is a factor, you know, personnel is a factor. We could try to get more volunteers, and I think there are people who would be willing to do that, but sometimes that can be risk. You know, you have to be very careful if you're signing up people to work with kids. So those are all things we need to be aware of in this. And finally, I'll just come back to Tennyson area and the wonderful Stack Center that we are hoping to build someday in my lifetime. I'd like to see it. That the county, we've been working with the county and La Familia on that project, and we're doing pretty well with getting the fund. I mean, we've gotten some pretty good grants lately that maybe put us over the halfway mark, and so it's on to the finish line. So we're going to be out there trying to raise money, but that will have a lot of opportunities to get young people together, you know, for organized events and unorganized events. I think it's going to light up all of Tennyson Park. I hope, you know, if that vision is finally realized, and there are a lot of resources there. So that's something we ought to keep our eye on. But I would like to know from the school district people about the Friday Night Live program and whether that could be expanded and exported to other schools.
What school is that at?
You know, I don't, it says, whereas youth in Hayward high schools and alternative school Friday night live chapters experience an environment that provides for physical and emotional safety. We get requests to do these proclamations, and I'm reading this now, like this program really doesn't exist right now in Hayward if the school people here don't know about it. So
and Chin, you haven't heard of it, right?
Pardon me. Yeah. So I know that Friday Night Live was a desal program in Ashland at 166th and 14th, where they had the pop-up futsal court and the volleyball, and Friday Night Live was a big program then. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to perpetuate that at other facilities. But, you know, I have not a big idea of what they're doing with that. I would like to just very quickly say that, the bike thing is huge for us. We have bikes, we have ways to move bikes now. We kind of got in at the end of the La Vista design, and there'll be an 1.5 acre bike park there specifically for people to ride bikes in that park. It's going to be huge. We're building pump tracks in Tennyson, but I've brought this up before. If you want to get them off the street in a controlled environment, there's a beautiful parking garage right over here, close to my office, that people could ride bikes in on a Friday night and be in a safe enclosed environment. We've talked about it a little bit before and kind of said, oh, we should look to explore that. We'll give you a place to ride in safety off the street.
A parking garage near your office?
Well, it's actually near the old city hall.
It's
still
the
standing.
old city center garage up behind the Safeway on Foothill.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that may not be vacant or available for a long time, but yeah, I mean, that actually would be a good place. The thing is, though, I used to be in the insurance business, the thing is, when you open that up and say, yes, come here, do this, and somebody gets hurt, then, I mean,
it's with all due respect, Mayor, it's the entire nature of everything we pretty much open that's not a class or a camp. We insure our skate parks, we insure our bike programs, our kayak programs, all those things, and we're getting ready to spend a significant amount of resources on outdoor programming so that we can take kids into the woods, start close to home overnight, and get into some backpacking and trekking. So we're moving into the nature and outdoor side as quickly as we're trying to move into some of these other areas, mobile rec and other things.
Mary, if I just may, on that same topic, it's really it is this immediate need that we're talking about. I mean, and I am in the insurance business, so I live risk and liability, and I'm in the most interesting position to see that. But like we tore down the building at the corner of Mission and Maddox, was the old Coca-Cola bottling factory. Now we have this beautiful slab of cement, and we're going to program this until we figure out what to do. It's this concept of sharing these resources to say, hey, let's do this now. So I understand. So I just wanted to say that it's a good idea to try to repurpose immediately for the immediate need.
You look at Mission and Maddox is a great place to teach you how to ride a bike too, by just simply putting circles and lines and lanes and things on the pavement there. We've discussed that in addition to some temporary expansion of pickleball while we figure out how to deal with the masses that want pickleball. So.
I think, we have to think about the difference between younger kids and teenagers. Teenagers want to be on their own. They want to just get together and be with themselves. And this Friday Night Live thing kind of sounded interesting to me because it would have different, could be organized around a place that has a skateboard park or something, but it wouldn't be just that. It would have, opportunities for kids just to get together and be kids together. I'm open to opening things. I think we have to be careful, but they'll go anyway, even if you don't invite them, if they think it's open. I'm sure there have been kids in that garage. I mean, nobody really goes there anymore. I've seen them in the Cinema Place garage, which is, where is always open for cars too. So
one's not open.
But I mean, I think we have to reach out more to them and ask them what they'll say. They want skating and bowling, and we have those things. We have bowling now again, but that's too expensive now because, and so it's just difficult. And Council Member Andrews has her hand up.
Yes, I think also I'm happy to hear that we're looking at other spaces for programming, especially for bicycles and skating, but also thinking about partnering with some of our businesses and thinking about how can we work with our businesses to make the event more attractive for youth. A lot of what I've been seeing is skating is getting more popular, not just because people want to go outside and skate and it was outdoors and it's COVID and it's an opportunity to still be outdoors and gather, but they usually have a DJ and they have, food and it's not just about having the activity, it's about what is supporting that activity to make it attractive. And then also for me, I am so happy we have like some of the best parks in the Bay Area in our city with Mia's Dream and Kennedy, but really thinking about that separation between toddlers versus school age versus high schoolers, middle schoolers, and thinking about what is it that they would want to go to, and then what is it that we can do at night. I mentioned in previous meetings before that doing things at night at Mia's Dream is also attractive for adults as well. But I can also really see having a DJ at Mia's Dream would be so fun for teenagers, and they would rather do that than probably even go to the mall, because they don't have to go inside a building and be pressured to buy something. They can actually gather and enjoy the space in a different way. So I just want to put that back on our radar. Also at Kennedy Park, I don't know if all the things are suitable, because they are for school age and toddler, but just having that Instagrammable space of having these really cool features at the park is an attraction in itself for probably a lot of youth.
And looking at all the other neighborhood parks that we have, the one you just opened at, and other facilities, other places like that throughout the city, and then maybe look at how we put some funding into providing those other things, music and food, which liven up anything. And I know I do hear complaints from parents of teenagers, especially, that there just isn't, they don't feel they're safe places to just drop their kids off and let them, do whatever it is, and not have to worry about them. So. Anybody else? I don't see any hands up. So I like the idea of making this kind of a regular topic like we have with others, and sharing things that we're each doing. I know we're each doing things to, along these lines to serve our youth. And so that's something staff can maybe make note of, and we'll continue the discussion.
And Mayor, I was also thinking, just to Trustee Buffet's point about when we do the neighborhood meetings, maybe there's, and when we restart some of the in-person one, maybe there's an opportunity to have staff from Hard and the school district also at some of those neighborhood meetings, so that it's sort of a shared listing between the three agencies. So I think I've heard some interesting suggestions here. And I'll go ask our city attorney what he thinks about opening that parking garage for bikes. And then you guys
he won't want to do that, and that's okay. So why don't you just give us a short-term lease on the property, and we'll insure the biking in it.
There we go. I like that.
It's like I said, our Capri, our insurance people, we do a lot of things that people might think were riskier. I mean, we insure swimming pools, highest risk activity you have. So
yeah. Okay. Sarah. I mean, yeah. Sarah.
I'm still Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just quickly to build on the hello, Greer. Just to add on to the conversation a little bit about next steps. I appreciate the expanded community conversations. I also wonder about, because the Youth Commission is a body of these three bodies, to have them do a youth-led listening session, maybe a couple of them in the, a North Hayward and a South Hayward one, or West Hayward. And then the other thing about this being a standing topic of, if there are pain points that would be helpful to share, of not complaints or, airing dirty laundry, but just like the solution to getting bikes to happen in the parking garage is to go with the agency that has the insurance for that kind of thing. What are the either policy issues or legislative issues that make some of the things that we'd like to see happen? Those would be good things to bring to this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I don't see any other hands, so we will, thank you for the discussion. That was a good discussion. And I hope that we continue to work on this issue. Now we're going to go to item 3, which is general agency updates. We'll start with HARD.
Can we please promote Adrienne Lee Bird as a panelist? She would like to share with you actually the health and wellness initiative we were just discussing. That would be our greatest update today, aside from summer's coming. We're getting about 6 to 8 youth on the books daily for summer jobs and camps and programs. So we don't, unlike the rest of the country, we do not have a lifeguard shortage, through programs like junior guard camps and counselor and training programs. So youth employment, if you know kids that want to work, we have jobs. I think we're the largest youth summer employer in, the area. So we're happy to do that. Adrienne, did you want to share? I know we don't have a lot of time. We talked about a few minutes though to talk about the initiative.
Just 2 minutes. So hi, everyone. Adrienne Lee Bird. I'm the Director of Recreation, Arts, and Community Services for HARD. And I know Director Hatcher and our GM mentioned the Health Equity Initiative, which we kicked off last month. It actually, just a little bit of background, we partnered with County Health as well as Tiburcio Vasquez last December. And so we just launched it this past month. There are 7 components of the program, and ranging from bringing neighbors together to party in parks and connecting them with community resources, to parent education workshops, and our extreme mobile recreation that's kind of been refreshed. But 4 of the programs that I kind of wanted to highlight. One is our recreation prescription. Hopefully you can see that. And Tiburcio Vasquez will.
Are you showing us something? I'm not seeing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, hold on one second. Okay.
I think maybe I don't know if I have to allow you to present, Adrienne. Let me just
share screen. Oh yeah, maybe.
It's not allowing me to make you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
It just says it's disabled, but that's okay. I don't.
Sorry.
That's okay. Should I just go ahead?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So the first is actually a recreation prescription, which Tiburcio Vasquez will be helping us initiate with their at-risk patients, and they get prescribed it's basically a gift certificate. It looks like a prescription pad for free fitness class through HARD. So that's really cool. Our Sweat HARD series, which launched actually last week, we have a boot camp program happening in MJCC gym, and last week was our first week. We had over 30 participants, a super diverse crowd. So that was really cool. We're doing Zumba in the park every Saturday at Tennyson this month. That just started last Saturday, and then we'll be moving that throughout the district. And then we're actually launching our Play HARD series, which is a youth World Cup soccer league, as well as a basketball league for youth. It's totally free to the participants, and they get all of the equipment and everything like that. We're actually working with HUSD for their McKinney-Vento families and newcomer families. They're going to be opening up registration to them first, just to give them a little head start. And then we'll be going to kind of some of the most at-need schools first before opening to the general public. Actually, this past week, which was awesome, a student from Bret Harte actually came into the office. He had heard about it and wanted to sign himself up, which is really amazing because usually, parents kind of initiate that. So he came in with 5 of his friends, and so made the whole thing worth it to me. It was very cool. And then let's see, swimming. And then the last thing is, and Jim mentioned this, in 3 days, the 15th, it'll be International Water Safety Day. So we're actually launching our water safety initiative, and it's really looking at addressing some of the disparities between low-income families and families of color for this really important life skill. So we partnered with our foundation, and we're going to be giving away over 2,000 free swim lessons. So we're going to hit 500 some families with a series of basic, free learn to swim classes for kids and adults, which is super important. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was good. I'm sorry we couldn't see your slides, but or whatever, but
I think she can, I think we figured out how to enable it. So if you want to share quickly, I think we can do that now.
Let's see. Oh,
Don't we have a cute flyer or something?
we do, but let me see if, let me see.
Or perhaps just send it to.
let's go to someone else, and if
Yeah.
you can figure that out, we'll come back to you. So let's go next to HUS. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay.
Well, so these are the 7 programs really quickly. This is the prescription pad that Tiburcio will be issuing to their patients. It's basically a gift certificate for any free class. Our Sweat Hard series with the boot camp in Zuma, and that's moving throughout the parks. And then this is our youth soccer and World Cup leagues. And then, like I said, on the 15th for National Water Safety, it'll be our free swim lessons. So those will start this summer and then continue throughout the year. Thanks.
There are things to do in the community for kids. So, okay, so now we're going to go to, oh, I'm sorry, I see hands up. Councilmember Andrews.
Yes, I wanted to know if we could have a flyer for the teens, the youth jobs. I know I believe I've seen something in the past. I don't know if you all have updated, but something that's kind of engaging, like Saved by the Bell font or something. I don't know. Saved by the Bell is now like old, but you know what I mean. Something that would be more attractive for them to want to apply for those jobs. But I love the flyers that you all have for these initiatives. They look great, but just wanted to see if that can also be a flyer.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, I think gearing some of our recruitment flyers to youth would be great. And I liked your at night or after dark series. I mean, we could do something like that at Sulphur Creek, or, you know, places like that would be really fun.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. And Sarah.
Thank you. Really appreciate all of this work. And 2 thoughts. One is, you know, if there are things that it makes sense for the city to also promote on our channels. I know our PIO talks to your PIO, but to the extent that it makes sense to promote those things. And then the other thing is, as a recreation therapist, I love the recreation prescription, and you know, some recreation therapy is reimbursable, and so as this initiative continues to evolve, it'd be interesting to talk through what some of those next steps might be, and see if some of those things are reimbursable in the future. Thanks.
All right. So now we will go to what's new at HUSD. Any news from HUSD these, you know, recently? Dr. Wayne.
Yes. You know, just speaking of student activities, we've had these amazing STEAM workshops in our STEAM buildings, one in each area, and it's just been great to see kids and families come out. Like we've had about 100 at each one, and it's just nice to see how those buildings are being used, not just at the high school, but for our community benefit as well. And then we do have, really have appreciated the conversation with the city of Hayward in our joint meeting. We are moving forward with our 7-Eleven committee that's talking about the use of property. And the conversation we had around that has been helpful in informing the discussion. But I think Mayor Halliday is also talking about, I'm here in Hayward till July 1st, so Hayward gets my full attention. But I think Mayor Halliday is talking about the fact that it was announced that after July 1st, I will be starting as the new superintendent of the San Francisco Unified School District.
Awesome.
And it's exciting, maybe a bit scary too, but also bittersweet, because I'm definitely going to miss Hayward and this community, and just it feels like there's still so much to do here. I mean, we've come so far, but still so much to do, and particularly supporting our students and families. And it's a special place where we have a team and community like this that's committed to the students and families. And so just to know, I really wasn't seeking to leave Hayward. It's not like I was out looking for something, but this opportunity came up, and it doesn't come up that often. And so I did throw my hat in the ring, as they say, and surprisingly, they offered me the position. So just want to, this is our, I quite not ready. I like I said, I'm here till July 1st, not ready to say goodbyes and everything, but I did tell Mayor Halliday, I mean, I guess this will be the last HLAC that I'm a part of, right? Because the next one starts is in the summer. So just this has been a really good group over the years of fostering those. I think both fostering our supporting ideas of how our agencies can work together, but also fostering that sense that we are a team in the city. It's not just the schools serving students or just the city providing its services or offering recreation, but how we're working together for the whole community. So thank you for doing this work and continuing this work, and I know it will continue on well even after July 1st.
Where our loss is San Francisco's gain. You can take the experience here and make them a better community. And but thank you. We did Dr. Okenda did announce it earlier in the meeting, and we will miss you, and sorry to lose you from this committee too, but thank you for all your input over the years. So anyone else have anything more about the schools right now?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, so we'll move back to the city, and I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick updates. I know the mayor mentioned the SAC Center project, and we just shared an update with the council, and the council approved a contract amendment with our architect. We now have enough funding to move forward with the phase 1 construction. So we're actually going to complete construction drawings there and work to start moving towards building permit to get at least the phase 1, which is the remodel of the Matt Jimenez Community Center and some of the site work. So that's super exciting. We're also waiting to hear, we applied for a $10 million state grant, and our staff has been pretty savvy at securing money in the last 2 years. So we're hopeful that if we get this state grant, then the gap to finish phase 2 is significantly less. And so we are also embarking on a fundraising effort to help do some community fundraising to help bridge some of that gap. So if you have ideas or suggestions about who we might reach out to, or I know Hard has been outstanding at fundraising for a number of years in terms of building parks. So if you have any suggestions, please pass them our way. We're working with a fundraising consultant that's helping us do that. So I also just wanted to share the city has a number of, with our COVID recovery funds. I'm sorry that Hard, I know it's a sore subject because Hard didn't get any of those, but we are using a number of those to support small business recovery in the community. And so we have a whole slew of programs to help small businesses recover. So if you're aware of anyone in the community, a small business that is in need of support, we do have a number of resources available through our economic development division. So please send them to the city. We're working through with a number of just kind of helping upgrade equipment. So there's more digital access, helping with marketing and online sales. So lots of resources available there. And then lastly, the city council and I will be spending our Saturday reviewing the city's annual budget. So it's our annual Saturday budget work session. And the council will also just kind of hear an update on our public safety innovation projects and where we are with some of those. We've had some pretty good successes in working through alternate response with mental health clinicians partnered with both our fire department and our police department. So we're looking to double the size of the programs and really start to expand services over the next year. So I'm very excited to present those projects this weekend. So I think that's it for me for now. But if anyone has any questions, happy to answer.
Not seeing any hands going up here. So thank you. Yes, Rick.
I want to go back to Matt. I want to talk about, I just want to congratulate you personally And just thank you. Working with you and your staff the last couple of years has actually felt like the partnerships that we've always envisioned with Hard. And I commend that not only like reaching out, but just if we don't get our act together, then the community doesn't get the resources that are available through our agency. So I just want to really thank you for being that true partner, mutually beneficial, trusting, and those are very important. So I know great people, they have lots of like who you influence in your staff, so I know there'll be a lot of that attitude down the line and even through your board. So I just want to thank you for that, because I think that we have incredible opportunities with the school districts and the partnerships, and I'm looking forward to working with your predecessors and your staff down the line. So congratulations.
Thank you, Rick. It's been a great partnership, and and working with Jim, he makes it happen.
He's the captain. Thanks.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I think, quite a big news day here. We're all still absorbing it, I think. Okay, let's move on to agenda building and dates for the next local agencies committee meeting. And I see a lot of good topics already on here. Does anybody want to add any? I mean, I think we have enough, certainly. And I wanted to say I'm especially interested in talking about the safe routes to school, and also the student bus pass program. As the representative from Hayward to the Alameda County Transportation Commission, I've been involved in the whole formation and for the past few years getting that program launched and continuing it. And I really would, even outside of this meeting, would like an opportunity to talk about how it is working for you guys at the district. So I was interested to see that if we could add the student bus free bus pass program to it as well. And even out, I'd like to reach out and maybe have a meeting beforehand just to see how that's working here. Well, so anyway, that's one. But anybody else have anything to add to the list we've got? Rick.
Yeah, I don't want to really add to the list. Well, I guess I do. What am I saying? The emergency preparedness that we have talked about for all these years, to always have that as a topic. I know if it's probably obviously still there, and if I'm out of line because it's not on there currently, it's just not at this juncture on here. But I wanted to, and also I believe when I see things, I believe them a lot of times, and so I want to always recognize safe routes to school, but as well as to our parks and city services. So I always want to see that, et cetera. I'm assuming means that, but I want to see it so we can visualize what that means. Is safe routes to our schools, parks, and city services.
Yeah, and really what that means is safe streets in general in our neighborhoods, and slowing traffic down and making people aware that there are, especially around schools and parks, that there are kids in the area, and that to be extra careful, which people are not, unfortunately, not all people. So good topic. Anyone else? All right, well,
it looks like the date of the next meeting is Thursday, July 14th, just if folks want to put that on their calendar.
Okay. Okay. Well, Matt, we are so sorry to see you go, and we wish you well. I think I speak for everybody in saying we wish you well as you move on to this other job. We'll probably be hearing a lot about you, since San Francisco has a lot more, is a lot more high profile in the community than we are. We hope it's good stuff we hear. We hope that you don't regret leaving this wonderful community of Hayward and moving on to a bigger one. But nevertheless, thank you for being a part of this for all these years, even stretching back to before you were the superintendent. And we do wish you well. So with that.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm around for the next month and a half, so I'll see you all.
Okay. All right. Well, we will come back to that then. But in the meantime, it looks like there are no other hands up. So I think we can now adjourn, and I'll go enjoy dinner. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Good evening.